What often destroys relationships but is hardly talked about? Religion and culture. We had a celebrity who just got proposed to a few months ago, and suddenly they called off the wedding. They said the reason was because she didn't want to convert and they were already in a relationship for like 5 years. They also read a story of a very compatible couple and were in love. They'd been together for years, but they broke up because of family pressure to convert, and they also wanted a different type of wedding. He was Jewish and she was Christian, if I remember correctly. I just think why they didn't have both weddings. That's what other couples do that have different religions or are interracial do nowadays. Story 2. I don't think people really realize how much of a strain having kids can put on a relationship, unless you really are working as a team. Sleep deprivation alone is enough to make anyone feel snappy, and if one of you is getting significantly more sleep than the other, resentment can build up. Moms often feel like they've lost their identity, while for the most part, the dads' lives don't change all that much. They still go out to work almost straight away. They can still go out or see their friends without too much forward planning. Then being at home alone with a baby all day with your husband works can create feelings of loneliness and jealousy. Moms often become the default parent if their kids need to be off school for all illness or school holidays. It's often left to them to carry the mental load of the day-to-day things, and often left feeling like the household manager when their husband doesn't initiate getting things done without having to be asked things like taking out the rubbish, cleaning up, etc. I'm really lucky that my husband and I were a team from day one and always split the night feed so we could each get a decent amount of sleep. I had a lot of friends and family nearby for me and my baby to spend our days with. I think being on lockdown during my maternity leave is a blessing because he was there during the day to give me a break if I needed it. And we've always tried to have nights off with just the two of us, either just for an evening or a night away if we can manage a babysitter. Story 3. The fact relationships are often built on lies. When people are dating, they make sure to dress up at their best, wear lots of makeup, try to look wealthier than they are, hide all the weird sides of their personality, be the most selfless, and hold their partner on a pedestal. It can last for months or even years, then as soon as the relationship gets seriously serious, the masks fall. The man who used to pay for very expensive dinners in order to impress, then make a scene if the wife buys her favorite cookies instead of the cheapest brand. The woman who used to act submissive to feed her fiancé's fantasies, in reality wants her freedom and likes to spend energy in her career and her social life. The woman who never dared to mention babies for the fear of making pressure on her man, really wants to be a mom so badly she can't even imagine a life without children. The man who pretended to be all for the dirty things and stuff and all, because that's what a real man is expected to want. They take out all of his insecurities around bed when he has proof that his girl is really a freaky type and wasn't just pretending to keep up the game. It would be so much easier if people showed their real self from the beginning. There wouldn't be so many couples who are unhappy and unable to keep passion alive, because they find out they are not compatible only when they had spent so much time together that they basically built a whole life together, never truly knowing each other. Story 4. I'm a divorce lawyer, and the answer is threats. Direct, implied, any intimation of, I want you to do X, so I'll do Y unless you do. Threats are not cute. They're not setting a boundary, and they're not any combination of standing up for yourself or teaching people how to treat you. People can survive the wildest combinations of dysfunction, but literally every couple who's ever been in my office thought it was okay to threaten each other. Once you introduce that lack of safety with each other, it all snowballs, and we naturally threaten children constantly. If you don't eat your dinner, there will be no dessert. People act like it's normal, and then we're all surprised when our close relationships fall apart. Story 5. Children. You're not supposed to blame them for problems in marriages or relationships, but they're at the root of all kinds of fights. The cost of raising them, the sleep deprivation and exhaustion, the amount of cleaning and cooking and work that can never be divided exactly 50-50 all the time, the kids themselves manipulating parents, parents going in to have a child with different philosophies on how to raise and discipline kids, etc. Most of the couples I knew that split up were great couples until they had a child or 3 and the stress got to them. Story 6. Not sharing the mental load of the household. This burden usually goes towards women, and men don't even realize they're not shouldering much of it. Men think women just naturally know how to think of everything and keep track of everything, but it's freaking hard, and we do it because somebody has to. Nobody else is stepping up to the plate. After years and years of doing this and not having any recognition for doing it or relief from doing it, women become resentful that their burden is always heavier. It erodes their belief in their partner as an equal part of the relationship that could be trusted to step up and take care of things if anything happened to them, like an illness or an accident. And in a lot of cases, my husband becomes like just one more child in the household because of the amount of care he needs versus the amount of relief he gives his partner by taking on some of that load. She finally sees that being a single mother would be easier because she would have one less child to take care of and a lot less hassle in trying to deal with this adult child. Story 7. People, they said, but is hardly talked about. A lot of y'all on here talk about a lot of things people talk about quite a lot. I'd say people build relationships based on things they like about the other, but maybe we should start talking about the things we don't like but seem to overlook because of their good qualities. and later gets brought up or become issues. Now the person is upset because they think you never liked them or that you're fake because of it. Would help to start saving marriages, plus helps truly growing together. Story 8. Different sleeping habits. My boyfriend and I have always kept separate bedrooms, and others have either found it absolutely wild or amazing. We have different aesthetics, different sleep patterns, wildly different alarm times, and not to mention I snore like a Mack truck. A few times we've had to share rooms, one or both of us ends up tired the next day and grumpy. We feel like having our own space has led us to wanting to spend time together in shared spaces and gives us an out whenever we need it. Plus, it doesn't lead to any lingering resenting from lack of sleep. Story 9. Postpartum depression. Had a perfect relationship of 8 years until we decided to have a baby. It was the perfect decision, made at the right time. We were both healthy and at the peak of our youth or success at the time, perhaps. The baby was delivered, and it was like we hit the jackpot. Exactly what we wished for. A quiet, easy boy with lots of smarts and social behaviors. It all went downhill a few months after delivery as the doctors told me my wife has postpartum depression after doing CS and this is normal. I don't know why nobody warned us if it is such a norm. So they said it is meant to last for at least 2 years. 2 years have passed at this point and she's still a train wreck of an emotional roller coaster every week. We live in 2 different houses nearby our son's kindy and I have stood by her side all the way, hoping that one day I could keep my chin up when my son grows up and doesn't have to wonder why his family's broken up like I did. Story 10. In terms of long-term relationships, priority and values. If one person prioritizes their career while the other prioritizes the community they live in, that can cause conflict. If, say, a better job opportunity comes up in a different city, or if one person puts a lot of importance on family so that they want to go to every cousin's wedding, but the other person doesn't feel the need to go to every family event they're invited to, then that could cause conflict due to travel or how they're spending a lot of their social time. These aren't deal breakers and could most likely be addressed with communication, understanding, and compromise, but they can often lead to breakups if people can't reconcile the things they care about in their life with the people they're in a relationship with. Story 11. Growth and change. 5 years is one thing. 10 years in, you're different people entirely. 15 years in, either grow together or apart. Usually people in their 30s get to the point where they need to grow with their partner and the opposite happens. People grow apart from one another. It's inevitable. Suddenly, what once was an amazing thing is now complete crap. Could be platonic, could be toxic, but it's shared by 2 people that are on common ground, wanting something to change, yearning for something more compatible that fits better. I learned this in therapy at the point of our relationship either grows or it goes away. I chose growth and I wanted to change. This is waiting for everyone. Story 12. Seeing your partner as a woman or a man before a person. Many people hold heavy biases about the opposite gender and it's ruining their connection. Assume whatever gender roles you like, as long as it comes from a place of interest instead of expectation. Don't make assumptions about what your partner is thinking, feeling, or expecting based on their gender. Quit seeing a relationship as transactional. This is what a man can give me. This is what a woman can give me. My own personal experience as a bisexual person has led me to abandon the necessity of all gender roles in my male-female relationship. There's nothing better for your relationship than keeping an open mind. It is easy for people who have never had a reason to think twice about a straight relationship to use gender roles as a crutch. It almost always leads to miscommunication. There will be differences between you as a man and a woman, but without an open mind about each other's experience, you will not come to an understanding. Not saying everyone in a male-female relationship needs to be an avid left-leaning person. Far from it, but it is time for all of us to abandon the worthless BS rules we have ingrained in our head about the gender binary. We are all struggling because of it. Every single one of us are victims here, and we need to loosen up in order to properly love ourselves and others. Story 13. Not letting the other person do what they want. Granted, there are unhealthy habits and social obligations. I'm obviously not talking about going to nightclubs or skipping your best friend's wedding. However, if your husband likes to golf, you should be able to get out a couple of times per month. If your wife likes to get her nails done or go to yoga, she should be able to do those things. If your boyfriend or girlfriend likes to run, they need the space to do that without feeling like it's happening at the cost of the relationship. We recently did these personality tests at work, and I found that I'm the type of person who likes to help, support, make sure everyone is succeeding and happy and so on, but often at the cost of my wants and needs. It really helped me understand why my wife and I are so much more compatible than my other relationships. Even the nice ones were inadvertently taking advantage of me and my time, whether it was my fault or theirs. A relationship should never mean that one person is being controlled, because in those situations, neither of the people are ever happy. Story 14. Projection. Every which way. Of course, the classic is projecting personally hypothesized bad intentions onto partners to attempt to explain their behaviors. This often instantly moves a behavior from one innocuous nothing to a bi-weekly fight topic. For example, men think women will enjoy some clumsy compliment or gesture because, hey, they would love to hear that from a woman. So obviously, it's a good move. Loud sigh. Women think men have all these strict, wacky wants and dating requirements because women literally discuss such lists with each other. Women are the dating selectors, and it makes some sense for them. Men like to joke about blondes with big guns because it's ironic humor to pretend they have selective options in the same way as women. Then, unfortunately, women load up a whole new unhealthy anxiety in their brains about what society and/or men require of them. Oops. Could go on all day. No one understands the true motives. Probably no one cares to because the projection comes easy and just feels right. Story 15. Failure to extend grace. Your partner is just as capable of being spiteful, jealous, lazy, and mean as you are. If they tolerate you and offer corrections gently, you owe them the same. I'm not talking about cruelty. I'm talking about how I did not clean the bathroom yesterday because I was cranky and wanted to play Minecraft. I will do it today, and my wife will forgive me. She frequently hoards mugs, and I do not get angry when she uses the mug she knows is mine because the rest are dirty. People are mess-ups, man. Roll with it when you can and say something before you get angry about it. Don't draw lines in the sand over stuff you wouldn't disown somebody for. Story 16. Unconscious misogyny. I see my dad assume my mom would do all the housework, shopping, cooking, childcare, and do her best to have a career. They fought about it, but it was so ingrained and so unconscious on my dad's part. He just thought it was whining or nagging if my mom stood up for equality. It made my mom resentful and my dad angry. We drove them apart. Now I picked a man who gets it. We share all the work and childcare. We both have equal hours off a week. 100% of our personal time is equal. If you're a default parent, that doesn't count as time off. Off. Equal. We both communicate what we need. So glad I broke that cycle. Story 17. Getting a crush on someone while you're in a relationship with someone else is so normal, but most people just refuse to talk about it. Part of growing up and having a successful long-term relationship is recognizing when I've gained feelings for this person, but I'm already in a relationship with someone else. Therefore, I'm going to distance myself and give myself space for the person I have a crush on, because that is what I agreed to do when entering this long-term serious relationship. So many young people and teens jump to cheating or I like someone else, so I must break up with my SO right now. When getting feelings from other people is a normal occurrence that can and should be discussed long-term, it's not about gaining feelings or having attraction towards someone else, because that is inevitable. It's about how you choose to handle and communicate those feelings, just as you would with any other relationship problem. Story 18. Prejudice and unrealistic expectations. We all have them. We meet someone and we immediately begin judging them against previous relationships or family values. This judging ultimately leads to create expectations that this person will change over time or begin to see things our way. Ultimately, our expectations aren't met and we begin to develop resentment towards the person for them falling to change or adapting to change our values. These resentments ultimately lead to a failure in the relationship. In a healthy relationship, we don't judge and we don't have expectations. We understand that our differences make us stronger, that our different values create a more comprehensive set of propositions to deal with problems. We understand we both bring a different approach to living that when combined is stronger than doing it alone. Our goal is to help each other and love each other unconditionally. Story 19. Answering with the assumption you're talking about committed romantic relationships, the disposition of some people that they should be trusted as a default. No, trust is earned and it's perfectly acceptable for your significant other to test it. Furthermore, you should be proactively proving your trustworthiness and not passively assuming it. It's corporate-y, but it's true. People don't do what you expect. They do what you inspect. You can't fault people for looking into your behavior. They're just as much looking for a reason they should trust you as they are looking for a reason why they shouldn't. If you bristle as the thought of your significant other checking up on you, then stay single. If you can't envision yourself being comfortable with that person being intimately involved with every aspect of your life, then you haven't found the one. Story 20. Only being in it because it's passionate and completely foregoing compatibility. I've seen so many couples fall apart because they never discuss what they want for the future. If they want children, how to raise children, how finances are going to be handled, how much attention do you need from your partner, long-term goals, overarching morals and values, etc. So many people get caught up in what hobbies and likes do we have in common that they don't even think about much else. Just because both of you love obscure garage bands or an incredibly niche book series, it doesn't mean you'll both agree on a nomadic lifestyle or only scheduling quality time once every 2 weeks. Story 21. This is why I'm a best friend of 20 years and not a romantic relationship, but right now it's her health. She's angry and isolating right now and pushing me away. It has been light for the last few years, but more aggressive this last year. She's even saying she doesn't need someone like me in her life, but her husband and family say otherwise. I've tried nothing more but to help her, but she doesn't acknowledge it. It's been very painful. I don't think it will be forever, but I've had an intensely difficult year. Divorce, parent issues, a camper that passed away quickly. I diminished all that to be here for her, in addition to cleaning, cooking, organizing, and doing as much as possible for her. She says I've done nothing to help her, and that makes me feel like crap. It's been even more difficult because she essentially said that to me. I'm not enough. You're not the kind of friend I need in my life right now. Despite my efforts, knowing my main complexes have to do with feeling like I never do enough. I'm struggling more than with my divorce because she's my person. She's the one that is never supposed to make me feel like crap and judge me, but it's what she's doing. Story 22. Number 1. Ego. Ego never goes well with love and relationships. For love and relationships to last, it requires vulnerability, as well as respect and grace for such vulnerabilities so that both partners can have a safe space to grow together and build something. Ego is self-centered. It ruins every possible way you and your partner can see eye to eye and grow in the relationship. One thinks his or her needs are above his or her partner's instead of thinking, we both have needs we should meet so that we both can show up in the relationship as we should be. Number 2, no open and honest communication, as well as a willingness to understand. If the other person isn't willing to understand, then communication is futile, no matter how well and honestly messages are relayed. Communication is very important to resolve little to big issues and prevent resentments and bitterness in the relationship. Number 3, lack of effective conflict resolution skills, which basically requires both number 1 and number 2. So when someone says, I'm going to leave him or her because he or she no longer wants to have intimacy with me, that's just the symptom. What's the root cause why that person no longer wants it with you? You drop your ego and are willing to communicate and understand. That's how you maturely resolve an issue in a relationship. People nowadays just easily end things when things don't go their way. Hence, relationships and marriages rarely last these days. Number 4, the very important one. If the person you're with isn't willing to do all those 3 things with you, that person isn't the one. A truly interested person who loves and cares for you will be willing to be vulnerable, open, honest, respectful, communicate and resolve things with you because he or she wants to build a future with you. If he or she isn't making that consistent effort and commitment to do all those above things, that isn't the one, and it will never last. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 23. Giving up or being lazy in how they look. As shallow as it may sound, I expect my partner to take care of their health and appearance the same way I take care of myself. Aging is natural, but you can do it gracefully by continuing to eat healthy, be active, routine skincare, routine medical checkups, keeping your mind sharp, etc. Unless it's something medically out of your control or other unforeseen, unfortunate circumstances, take care of yourself the best way possible. I want my partner to be proud of who I am as a person as well as how I look, just like I want to be proud of mine the same way. Story 24. Name calling or put downs, even as a joke. For one, you don't know how your partner will take it, but the worst part about it is how it will slowly change your perception and mindset of your partner. Once you start thinking, oh, they're just doing something stupid, it basically gives your brain a free pass to think that they are in fact stupid. Eventually, that idea of them doing something stupid will creep on to more and more things. Once you start, it's very easy to move the goalposts without realizing it. After a while, it becomes normalized and it can cause resentment to sink in from both sides. It's kind of like how people tell you to think positively or put out good vibes. It's that change in mindset that compounds over time that ends up providing a result in the long term. The same can be said about doing the opposite, though. Story 25. Cultural differences. They can seem very exciting in the beginning, but as you age, they can become irreconcilable. These often emerge in communication styles and especially in parenting. One thing that I'm glad my spouse and I managed to resolve was huge differences in parenting philosophies or cultural ways around the raising of children. We managed to work it out, but we should have talked about it much more before having kids. I was young and naive when we had kids. Now I would counsel people to talk about not just your personal ideas on parenting, but also specifically how they were raised around these areas. Food, sleep habits, discipline, authority of the parents, child autonomy as they get older, etc. Story 26. Intimacy needs. Some people think it's enough to just make themselves available to a partner and call it a day, but after years and years, effort needs to be put into igniting the spark. When someone refuses to contribute effort to their partner's satisfaction, they're taking away something that can be obtained elsewhere. While humans seek to compensate for things they don't find in their relationship, like appreciation, validation, understanding, etc., you can't make up for lack of satisfaction by experiences outside of the relationship. When your partner is inattentive to needs, it leaves you less invalidated than other needs, but it's not something that people talk about much, and those who ultimately compensate by seeking that outside of the relationship are immediately the guilty party. Not trying to excuse cheating. Something I've never done. Story 27. Prioritizing love over everything else, both at the beginning and at the end of a relationship. At the beginning, those relationships are doomed to fail from the start. Ignore all the other factors that go into a successful relationship and trust their love will be enough. At the end, people too focused on love ignore the fact that love comes and goes and builds and fades and builds again at different stages of a relationship. Love changes and develops and won't always feel the same. Some mistake this changing love for a failing relationship and don't have the follow-through in their commitment to the relationship to find ways to make it work and nurture their mutual love. Story 28. People don't know this, but 60% of women self-report falling out of love within 3 years. That's compared to 0.4% of men. This needs to be talked about more. Men and women have very different perceptions of what love is and what each other's needs are. 60% of relationships will fail right off the bat based on nothing more than gender, and it'll hit men the hardest. Still in love, and they won't even know what happened. This leads to infidelity, and the whole thing is a mess. I suspect women associate love with a dopamine chemical high and feeling that'll fade, while men associate love with caring, respect, and commitment, and action or choice. That's not to say men don't have their own issues, but 3 years in, and more than half of women are done. That destroys relationships, and I don't even think people know those stats. Feel free to Google. My interpretation might be wrong, but those are the stats. Feel free to discuss. Story 29. Finances. People seem to only talk about it once it becomes a problem and not in the beginning when figuring out compatibility. I wish it wasn't so taboo in the US culture to discuss this. I think it would save a lot of relationships. I got lucky with my fiance. Early on during dating, I came clean about being in the middle of getting my financial crap together, credit, savings, etc. My fiance already had good credit but was working on improving other areas of his finances that he had neglected. It was a huge weight off for both of us to feel accepted from where we were at. It's also been really great working as a team to figure out financial stuff together. Having shared goals to work towards has really strengthened our relationship, and both of our financial situations are pretty great now, too. Story 30. Respect, communication, healthy boundaries, honesty, maturity, accountability, and partnership. Respect each other no matter what either of you do. You cannot have a healthy relationship without respect on both sides. Communication. What is a relationship if you can't communicate with each other? Healthy boundaries with friends, work colleagues, family members. If you can't do that on both sides, it's not an equal relationship shop. Honesty. Lying ruins relationships. Sometimes it's a small lie and you may try to forgive that person, but over time it just festers in your mind and you never get what you had back again. Maturity. I've heard and seen a lot of people say they want a relationship, but they're not willing to put in the work, which goes into a relationship, and it really does take two. And no double standards. Same rules for both parties. Accountability. Own up to your actions. If you have hurt your other half or done something wrong, own up to it and take accountability for it. This is also part of maturity and makes the relationship stronger. Partnership. See each other working as a team. Yes, take advice from family and friends, but do what works for both of you and listen to each other. Listen to what each other wants. Story 31. I got divorced after being married for 20 years and 4 children. Never saw it coming. I was a devout husband and caring partner who would pamper his partner at any given point, but I was a workaholic. Being the eldest in the family and having bucket loads of expectations and 4 kids didn't give me much room for myself. I never spoke about problems plaguing a relationship, and she always pretended to have my back. Eventually, my partner started cheating behind my back, and by the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. On top of it all, I lost my one and only sibling who acted like a rock during my separation. The entire ordeal broke me from inside out. Now I feel lifeless. Story 32. Unrealistic expectations. People these days are expected to be perfect. Not a single flaw. It's not just in romantic relationships, but in acquaintances too. Any hint of a trait which could be red flagged is usually a reason to split relationships apart. In the olden days, it was a bit more accepted that people were just a bundle of flaws loosely held together with baling twine. Now we all have to be golden flawless gods with zero unacceptable opinions or behaviors. It's totally unrealistic. Story 33. Social media. Everything is about likes and content. Instead of actually talking, they take social media comments at face value and seem to think the opinions of strangers online should actually be taken as fact and actual relationship advice. Nobody wants to actually work for anything anymore. They just expect things to happen because they feel like it should. People don't communicate about their feelings and issues, which leads to everyone bottling things up and eventually just exploding. A relationship isn't just 2 people anymore. Besides the mind games, the relationship involves friends, family, strangers, and the internet. Story 34. Time. Capitalism has robbed us of time so much we don't even realize it. You have to work 9 to 10 hours, often every day, just to make a living and have some extra money, or study 24/7 with a vague future of a job that will pay well enough. Basic things such as water or a home cost money, and way too much money. We spend all of our time making this money and often have less than 2 hours to see friends or just have free time for ourselves. Many people can afford to have a relationship because that would mean giving away more time, and often that would literally make people homeless. Story 35. I think it's a combo of a lot of things. The cost of living versus wages is a lot higher, and people are so much more connected with email, cell phones, and social media that they're more stressed. The work-life balance is blurred with constant connectivity. Add in a breakdown of long-term committed relationships for quick fooling around, and it breaks down further. Things like social media and internet dating apps make finding someone else so much easier and put glamorous other options in people's faces. Literally. This makes it much easier to leave and find someone else that appears to be a better person, even if it's fake smiles and filters on social media. Simply put, relationships are more strained and other options are easier to find. Story 36. Poor communication and the rising belief that relationships need to be transactional. It's not enough anymore to stay with someone because you love them or you enjoy their company. Now it's all about what you bring to the table versus what they bring and what ways the other person can serve you. There are naturally going to be roles that one partner plays that another doesn't. But I feel like if you enter relationships the same way you enter a business deal, of course you're going to find someone who feels that being single is worth more than staying in the relationship. And of course, you're going to find someone who truly values you for what you provide materialistically. Story 37. Everybody thinks relationships have to be perfect. You need a partner that will meet 100% of your needs. That's not healthy. People think they have to have it all before they settle down. My husband and I met in our last year of high school. We grew together. We became better versions of ourselves together. We call out each other's BS. We've been together for over 10 years and he still slaps my back after a long day of work. There are rough seasons and good seasons. I think people would trade in for the next model. I think if people thought, what can I do for them? How can I help them be their best selves? The world would be different. Story 38. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I think people's standards are too high and people are willing to cut and run too quickly without being willing to work in a relationship. You see both of these mentalities over Reddit. Red flag, leave them, is such commonly upvoted advice. Obviously, you should want to be treated well by the person you're with, but so many people seem to expect their partners to already know how to be a good partner. It took me years to figure out how to actually be a good partner to my now wife. If she had left me the first time I messed up, we would have been done 6 months in. And I don't mean messed up like cheated, I just mean sad or did something she didn't like. Relationships take work, communication, understanding, and some grace. Story 39. Too many people don't really care about the other person. Cheating is rampant and the cheaters feel no shame. A relationship gets ruined and the cheater goes on to mess up someone else's life. The person whose life got messed up stops trusting people and either refuses to get deeply involved with anyone else or stops dating altogether. Add kids, and the risk of a cheater destroying a marriage makes it an even riskier gamble, especially for men who usually lose everything. I don't get involved with anyone. After having to pick up the pieces from several cheaters, I'm freaking done. It's not worth the risk anymore. Story 40. I think our whole culture, at least in America, has become about convenience. If a relationship is no longer convenient, i.e. you have to do work to keep the relationship working, you no longer want anything to do with it. People aren't willing to deal with other people and their problems. I think we have a bigger consumer culture leaking into the relationship aspects of our lives, again, at least in America, where we just feel like anything that has fulfilled its perceived purpose is now just trash. Or if a better version comes out, what you already had is trash. I also don't think social media helps either. I think it puts the idea in people's heads of what an ideal relationship, life, and partner should look and be like. And truthfully, no one can live up to any of those standards to a T. Story 41. There are honestly top 5 things that ruin serious relationships nowadays, in no particular order. Accountability. Most relationships fail due to one or both partners not being able to admit to being wrong or unwilling to own up and fix issues. Communication. Relationships often fail when there's a lack of communication. Not communicating simple problems can lead to you seeking guidance from others when it could have simply been resolved between yourselves. Lack of communication can also lead to infidelity and betrayal. Loyalty. Need I say less? There's no excuse when it comes to loyalty. There's no messing around phase. No being single until marriage or any other ridiculous reason for not being loyal or committed to a single person when in a serious relationship. Trust. Now, trust is a different thing in relationships. You shouldn't blindly trust your partner, but when it comes to things revolving around your relationship, their words should have more weight than others, especially if it's something that threatens the relationship, such as cheating accusations. Trusting friends and family over a lover on account of false allegations has ruined a lot of relationships. Compromise. A lot of people have expectations and standards when entering a relationship. While it's nice to have standards, you also need to be willing to accept the standards of your partner to some extent and find compromise between you and them. Story 42. Lack of clear communication with your partner. Most problems really stem from that, assuming the problem isn't deliberate cruelty. Unsatisfied in some way in your relationship, you can talk that over with your partner and find a solution, even if that solution is to end the relationship. Angry that your partner isn't doing what you think they should be, you can talk that out and maybe they weren't aware of the expectations you were placing upon them. This could go on, but essentially, communicating clearly with your partner your expectations, wants, frustrations, and really just about everything that isn't protected by an NDA or something should be communicated clearly with your partner if you want the relationship to last. I've been happily married for 6 years and we have been through hell together the last 3.5 years. We both lost the ability to work, take care of ourselves to a meaningful degree, and had to move back in with my parents during which they were divorcing. We were both mostly bedridden and have spent tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills. wiping out any money we had to our name and having to rely on the graces of both our parents to continue to afford the procedures we both needed when insurance refused to pay. My wife went from dissociating to splitting into alters for the first time in her life, and if it wasn't for us continuously communicating and working in a relationship, we'd never have made it through that. I cannot really express in words how much crap went on all at once and how much it strained our marriage, but we made sure that we never bottled any of it up and always discussed it with each other to find solutions and how we both felt. Story 43. People becoming self-centered and or changing their minds out of the blue. Sometimes by listening to complete idiots and agreeing with them. Sometimes because they put too much or wrong thought into something, and sometimes because of social media. My last ex decided that she should sleep with a guy to become pregnant, even though we had decided that either I would get pregnant from a donor, she didn't want to have the negative side effects, or we would adopt. Me not liking the idea of her basically cheating on me and not allowing her to do things her new way was the doom sentence for our relationship for 4 years. And one of my brother's exes, their relationship was 3 years long, they were even engaged, suddenly didn't want to have kids with him anymore because they'd probably hate her and love him. She can't handle children, her nieces do nothing but annoy her, and because someone told her that they wouldn't even be able to afford having a child if he didn't get a better job. She also suddenly thought he should drive her to and pick her up after work, no matter if he had to work or had a day off, because men should pamper their women like that. Their workplaces were in different directions. Story 44. This came up in another thread not too long ago, and it's interesting. Relationships have changed, and we're still trying to figure it out. Even people in relationships are still figuring it out. They're just committed to each other. The lack of communication, self-awareness, inability to commit, etc. are all true, but the dynamics of a relationship have changed. I'm an independent woman who does not have children. I do all the conventional things a woman used to do. I freaking cook like a 5-star chef, keep a nice house, sew, color, garden, and so on. I'm also a bit of a workaholic. I'm able to do a lot of my own home repairs. I don't mind playing in the mud. I don't need help figuring things out or managing how to get things done. This is not how life used to be even 40 years ago. So the dynamics of relationships have changed because people have changed, and we're learning how we fit together now. Men used to work, provide, keep a roof over the heads of their family, food on the table, and everyone clothed. Now women do that. Men need to be more. They have to learn how to be a more integrated part of a team now, at home. Commitment and navigating the changing dynamics of relationships is the answer to the initial question, whatever that was. Story 45. The throw away and start with a clean slate mentality. People now are more than okay with breaking up with someone because he or she has baggage and it's BS. Everyone has a past, and just because I have accepted my flaws in my past does not mean that's the end of it, and a needed partner doesn't have an ex, kids, emotional or physical damage from previous life experience, or altogether doesn't fit into my cookie-cutter imaginary future. If you love someone, tell them. If you're mad, then say something. If you want gifts, then buy them, but don't just throw something away because it's a little bruised and you can't just be bothered to work for it. We need more loyalty and honesty and less judgment and catchphrases. Just because your prince didn't come in a stallion doesn't mean he can't be worth the effort if the other pieces fit. It would be so beautiful to see more 30, 40, or 50-year anniversaries rather than marriage number 4. Story 46. Lack of candidness with prior generations or friends. Communication, dedication, and accountability. It's far easier to just move on when things don't go your way than to talk it out. Take accountability for your part. Not hold on to resentment for every little thing and stay committed. I also think this is due to the fact that people don't speak candidly about problems. So, when issues arise, people don't have examples of how to navigate said problems and don't know that they are common. A lot of toxic dating or relationship advice online doesn't help. People often seek advice from people who will tell them what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. Story 47. People have more rights and empowerment to live their lives and make their own choices with less influence and shame for tradition, society, and religion in the Western world than we probably ever had. People aren't afraid to leave a relationship that doesn't work today. That is a good thing. The freedom for women over their lives and own bodies will always be one of the greatest changes made to society, and we need to pursue that. It has typically been women who are financial or cultural prisoners to bad relationships, but now they can live very similar lives with financial independence and not need someone by default. People are starting to see that religion and tradition are strangleholds. It is falling by the wayside as people may choose to explore more varied relationships or settle on none at all as a choice to do so. Modern dating and relationships are demanding, as competition is so strong. Some people just aren't willing to manage their expectations, all wanting the best in a partner while not bringing much to the table themselves. All that choice for everyone can be overwhelming, and given more time, I think we will see stability return to relationships as we work out what really matters to us. Story 48. People who give up on relationships just because there are disagreements or a few arguments. So many men these days think if a woman is strong, assertive, and has strong opinions that she defends, that she's not a good match. I hear too often that women these days are crazy and only good for a lay. There's too much sexism going on today and so much lack of respect that to find a good man these days is next to impossible. Plus, don't even get me started on the new dating terms. You aren't dating until you've had a few dates or are in a situationship. What the hell is that? You're either dating, in a relationship, or are friends. Why are people complicating it now? Plus, with social media telling people how relationships are supposed to go, it's too much, and dating isn't fun anymore. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.